pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everybody.
Morning.
We'll call the meeting to order. Look for motion of agenda approval. No changes in what's printed here, Peggy? Okay.
Make a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from the 9/21 meeting?
I read through the minutes and everything looks good, so I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes approved. General public concerns. You have any general public concerns today?
No,
Mr. Thompson? Okay,
I've had one brought up.
all right.
They said they've been watching the video or audio on our website, and they said that, him still can't understand it. It's not very, hearable, so they were wondering if our mics are bad. If I hadn't listened to one for a while, so
Okay,
check it, I guess, see where we're at.
all righty.
That was the only thing I heard.
Okay, well, we will definitely look into that. Anything else public concern-wise? If not, moving along, we have Andy Milam here for the Western Iowa Tourism Region, and he's gonna give us some information, regarding things going on therein. So Andy, you can...
Okay, so, I guess part of the reason that I'm here today is, tourism has been really hit pretty badly across the state of Iowa in general. And Humboldt County, so, first, let me back up real quick. So I'm the president of the Western Iowa Tourism Region. There are three regions across the state of Iowa. There's the Western Region, which is kind of the break, is Humboldt County is a break line. And then it moves to central Iowa, and that's, it covers over to probably like Marshalltown area, kind of if you run a line straight through Marshalltown, that kind of gives you an idea, and then you've got eastern Iowa. And kind of like the rest of the country, and the way the country has gone, with its migration in the 1800s, so has the tourism and also the population centers across the state. So as you know, the majority of the population centers in Iowa are on the east side, and as you move west, you become vastly more rural. So when we look at tourism in Iowa, there are kind of two main functions or functionalities that exist. One is called a CVB and a DMO model, and that is a Convention and Visitors Bureau and a Destination Marketing Organization, and those are encompassed by larger cities and metropolitan areas. Now, when you look at it, it would be things like Dubuque, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, Cedar Falls, but Council Bluffs, Sioux City would be what you would consider to be that model. And then there is what we understand to be more of an attraction base, which encompasses a lot of the small towns in Iowa. So things like the Grotto, which is where I work, and the world's largest popcorn ball in Sac City, or the world's largest frying pan, or the Amana Colonies, or things along that line is the second model that functions. And what we have found is that Iowa historically has done a terrible job in promoting tourism. We rank 42nd in the country in tourism. So if you think about things like Pure Michigan, right, with Tim Allen getting out there and laying out this big thing, or the Explore Minnesota, or some of the various things, those are kind of a couple of them that are real big and come to mind real fast, or the Missouri one, they talked about Branson a few years ago, and they do a really good job with that. Well, Iowa doesn't do that. And so Iowa has gotten a reputation for being a flyover, a drive-by, we're an ag state, we don't really care about anything else, and that's just patently not true. We want to bring people to Iowa, because Iowa has, as you know, considered to be one of the best places to live in the country. but nobody knows about it. So when we rank that low in tourism, it falls not, so that it trickles down. So the state doesn't pay real close attention, or the work that they do is focused mainly on economic development, and tourism's an afterthought. And what we see and what we have found is that the CVBs and the DMOs want to take over tourism. And that doesn't work well once you get past Des Moines. Because you get past Des Moines, if you're looking at the state, and it becomes ridiculously rural really, really fast. When Humboldt is considered to be one of the larger small towns, and we're 5,000 people roughly, we have to figure out a way to become more effective as a county and as a region than what we currently are. And that's part of my job as the president of the tourism region, is what can I do? How can I help promote Humboldt County? What can I do with the supervisors to do this? Also, what can I do to protect attractions? Because if not, what's going to end up happening is Ames, Des Moines, Mason City, Sioux City are going to try and start marketing Humboldt. Well, that's not feasible. It doesn't make sense to have Ames try and market Humboldt from a tourism standpoint. They don't have a clue, really, they don't care. They're more worried about Iowa State and making sure that they're promoting the various things that go on around Iowa State. So does that reach come up and really hit Humboldt? Well, on a certain level, it might because of Bruce, but that would be about as far as it goes. Right? Ames isn't gonna drive itself to get to Humboldt and work Humboldt County. One of the reasons it became really passionate for me, not only have I lived here for 40 years, off and on, but also the Grotto directly impacts, from a tax basis, Twin Rivers. Part of the tax money that Twin Rivers gets for their funding of the school district comes from the Grotto tax base, because I'm 2 miles north of Humboldt County. And the Grotto, our tax base is a bigger impact to Humboldt County and Pocahontas County and Cassuth County than it is to Palo Alto County, because Palo Alto County has a casino. But ours trickles down and kind of out. It goes up, of course, and it does impact Palo Alto County as well, but it is not as noticeable. So when we look at this, it becomes imperative that we find things that can work for Humboldt County. What can we do to make Humboldt County more palatable to the tourism industry? Well, first thing that we want to say is just throw money at it. Just, let's chuck money at it and then we can figure something out. But that's not always feasible, especially in the times that we live in now, with everything kind of receding and everybody really tightening down. But one of the things that I found through this year is that I am way up. Raw dollars, the Grotto's up $30,000 since July 1st. There should be a way that Humboldt County and western Iowa and the Grotto itself should be able to take bigger advantage of people not traveling out, not going to Disneyland, and not going across the country, and not going overseas and staying home. So what can we do? Well, the tourism industry we have targets. We have different things that we target, and one of them that Iowa has targeted is something called IWIL, and I don't know if you guys have heard about that or not. So Iowa Water, Land, and Legacy. And I'll get you all this information. I'll email the information back to you guys. I'll get your information after we're done, and I can email some of this back. But if we have IWIL, if we start supporting some of the things that will directly benefit Humboldt County, we can draw people into the town. We don't want to see Humboldt recede in population. We don't want to see Humboldt be known simply as a manufacturing hub where the executives come and live, and that's kind of how it works, because across the state, that's kind of a reputation we've got. And I don't want that. I want people to come live here because of the reason that I live here, because I love this town and this town. I left for 20 years and came home. So, I want to see that kind of become a thing. But I also don't want to see CVBs in large cities try and dominate and control our county and our city from a tourism standpoint. because it's not gonna be helpful for us. We should be able to do what we wanna do. You know, it almost becomes the argument between regulation and deregulation, and how do you work through that? And so that's becoming a real big concern as we move forward. I am meeting with the, Director of Iowa Economic Development tomorrow to have the same conversation. There's a group of 5 of us that are going, we're having this conversation. So, there is Eastern Iowa is looking to make a move with the tourism industry that will set up a new statewide organization that is based off of 13 CVBs. And the attractions will have to just come along for the ride. And for Western Iowa, for Humboldt County, that's not a good thing. That's not good. What we're gonna see is that we're gonna have to rely on our marketing dollars that are given out to the state, from the state to the counties and to the regions, that are gonna funnel through Iowa City, it's gonna funnel through Ames, it's gonna funnel through Des Moines, it's gonna funnel through Mason City, it's gonna funnel through Dubuque. Well, how does that benefit us? Whereas right now, if we want those marketing dollars, it funnels through Alyssa. And it funnels through the HDCA, and it funnels through those things. Those are how we get our dollars. But now, they want to add another layer, and we are absolutely opposed to it. And from the Western Iowa standpoint, I'm so opposed to it that I'm willing to come out here and talk to you guys and let you see what's going on. So, you know, but when we rank, but the bigger picture and the conversation that needs to be had is, what can Humboldt County do? And what can you as supervisors do? And how can this work to kind of help us build an infrastructure and partner with HDCA and with, you know, with me at the Grotto and with other entities that are drawing dollars into Humboldt County, whether it's directly in Humboldt County or not, to do this. Because when Doverside built that fountain for the Hessians in 14 or whatever year it was that he built that, right, the thing about it is that created a bond between Humboldt and West Bend that never will break until one of them falls down. And that's not gonna fall because we just restored it, and I'm always restoring the Grotto. So, I have a way that I can draw people to Humboldt, and I do. I send people from West Bend to Humboldt all the time. And what I do is I try and bring people in and get them to spend the night in Humboldt, because West Bend's got a hotel, but it's only it can only hold so many people. So I bring people to Humboldt rather than send them to Algona or Emmitsburg because of the fountain. Oh, by the way, you spend a day at the Grotto, go stay in Humboldt on your way home and go see the fountain that Father built. And then what does that do? That creates tax dollars for Humboldt County. They're gonna stay, they're gonna eat, they're gonna shop, and then they're gonna leave. But they might think, you know, Humboldt was a great place to stay, and it's a good place to come home to. Maybe I want to live here. And that's part of what we're trying to do. So that cross-pollination of the various things that happen is how that's gonna work. If what is gonna happen in the future, if this concept of Eastern Iowa and a couple of the Central Iowa larger cities takes over, is they're not gonna drag to Humboldt, they're not gonna drag to West Bend, they're not gonna drag to Algona, they're not gonna drag to Spencer, they're gonna pull them back, right? Or they may say, go from Ames to the lakes, and oh, there might be something in between. And that's about all you're gonna get. But Humboldt County has a lot to offer. We really do. If you sit back and you look, and I know you do because you're here, you sit back and you look, Humboldt County has a ton to offer. We just need help, and that's what I'm here to do ultimately, is ask for your help to help get this kind of promoted and going. And then I can go to the city and say, okay, I got the county on board, let's go with the city, get the city and the county working together on this, and you do to a certain degree already, but let's really, you know, pump this up and get this out. You know, things like Western, you know, with Iowa Waterland and Legacy, you've got that. With, you know, you've got the trail system. You've got, you know, you've got agritourism, which is almost untouched anymore because people are so worried about liability, but that's why you carry insurance. So that you can get people out to see the agritourism. There are different things, there are different sectors that can play a part in this. Plus, we're spending how many millions of dollars revitalizing our downtown? Why would we revitalize downtown if we don't want people to come? It wouldn't make any sense. So, you know, and the city's behind it, and the people in town are behind it, and granted, there's some people that are not behind it, but there's always people that are not behind something. But by and large, this is becoming a huge thing, right? Bringing in Iowa to wrestle, bringing in, other types of sporting events, having the Gotch tournament, having the various, the catch-as-catch-can tournament over the 4th of July, had that gone off. Those are things that we can use to help draw in and build off of and create other industry, other things to happen within the county, within the town. So when I look at that and when I see that, those are things that we can do to help build and bring in more dollars. So from a tourism standpoint, Iowa is an $8 billion industry. $8 billion with a B. Humboldt County's contribution to that is $13 million. So $8 billion, Humboldt's contribution is $13.2 million on a, kind of on that scale. The tourism budget for the whole state of Iowa is $2 million. $2 million to market Iowa, which makes us number 42. Not out of 50, out of 48, because 2 states don't market at all. So, when you think about that, we have ways that we can go, and if we can get support and start drawing support from county supervisors, and I'm not gonna be the only one having this conversation with the counties, we're gonna start at grassroots to move this. We're gonna start talking to county supervisors, we're gonna start talking to economic developers, we're gonna do these things. And this is gonna piggyback also on the initiative, once the governor can get it up and going, about her reinvest in Iowa. Because this is what we're gonna do. And this is the only way that it can work. So, and it's also not partisan. I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care if you're a communist, I don't care who you are. As long as you support bringing people into Humboldt County and growing Humboldt County, it's a good thing. So, that's kind of the gist of what's going on. But we need to make sure that as a county, we're looking out for ourselves. And I'm almost certain that this wasn't even a thought on any of your minds. I mean, maybe it was, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background, and I can come back and give an update, but I mean, to give you guys some background on what's going on. So, from there, I'll open up, and I can answer pretty much any questions. I mean, I'm sure that there are questions that are out there. But I'll answer any questions, or I can elaborate on anything that doesn't seem to make sense or that I seem to gloss over. So, I just wanted to bring that to your attention this morning.
Well, I know that was part of the reason that when they put the God statue in the location they did, they talked about putting it up on the hill. Well, when you put it up on the hill, people driving through, they stop, they see it, then they just get back on Highway 169 and take off.
Right.
Well, they wanted to get it down on Bicknell Park where he trained, and hopefully get them into the business area where they would shop, or they would pull them down towards the museum where they have a lot of his stuff down there. So I know those were things that they thought about when they did the placement of that. We heard people, well, it should have been here, it should have been there. Well, it's there.
Right.
Yeah.
And realistically, that's one of the best places to put it. I mean, when you look at that kind of thing, and I do anyway, from a Western Iowa standpoint, I use Frank Gotch a lot when I'm talking. Because, I mean, arguably, he was, of the first half of the 20th century, he was probably one of the most, if not the most influential sportsmen in the entire country. I mean, when professional wrestling was a real thing, and not, he was a big deal. So, we use that.
It's interesting to see how many people you drive by the park and see how many people getting out, getting their picture taken next to that statue. It does draw.
Right. Now how do we get them to come downtown?
That's right.
Right? And that's where marketing dollars can go to work for us. And that's why I want to see an increase in marketing dollars. That's why I want, if I can get the supervisors and I can get the city behind what's going on, and I'm already talking to Alyssa about all of this too. So, what can we do? How can we go about building this up? That's the key behind a lot of this.
Good.
Yeah,
I think
so-
we're all interested, that's why we're doing the thing for the dam, doing all that, and working on that, so, working on that.
And I think that you should you should really look into Iowa, making sure, and talking with the governor, and talking with her office, and talking with, the the state DNR and making sure that you as supervisors are getting, and you probably are, but making sure you really start getting loud about it, because they'll give you the money. They'll work with you to get it done. It just has to be something that becomes a priority, right? So, and that's part of why I'm so passionate about Iowa Water, Land, and Legacy, dealing with, with Tom Hazelton and his whole aspect of things from the conservation side. He'll do everything he can to help, and I can do whatever I can to help too. And that's part of my job as president of Western Iowa, is what can I do, because Humboldt County is Western Iowa. We might feel like we're North Central, but we're really Western Iowa.
Have you gone with Todd Lee or anything, talked to him about it?
I haven't had a chance to yet, because I wanted to talk to you, I want to talk to the supervisors first. Like I said, I talked to Alyssa, it's been several months because of COVID, but I talked to Alyssa, but now that I've talked to you, I plan on getting with Todd and talking with Todd too. Sure.
Hey, Andy? Yeah. Is there a fear of the regionalization of the tourism, like you said, to the bigger, is that something that it's being pushed, that could happen? That obviously, you spoke against that, and understandably so, because we don't want a city, who knows how far away, funneling money through, like you explained. Is that something that's on the realm of possibilities that we need to be fighting against, so to speak?
Well, I mean, it's something you need to be aware of, for sure. I mean, as a board, you need to come to a consensus amongst yourselves, but they've already started, there's an organization called ITIP, and the travel industry is full of acronyms. So, Iowa Travel Industry Partners, ITIP. And that group is trying to form, and they are going so far as to create a C3 and a C6 to form without having all 99 counties on board. As of today, 71 counties are not in favor of ITIP, but they're forming this anyway. So, and when we talk about counties not being in favor, that would be the tourism leaders inside the county. But if we can, if it helps our position, if we can come back and say, well, the cities in the county, and the county supervisors are aware, they may or may not support something like this in the future because of, I mean, what do you want to have, down that road? But that's a real concern. If they're going so far as to create a C6 and a C3, then they're real serious about trying to make this happen. And that, again, is part of the reason why tomorrow is not only to talk about what I just talked about with you, but we're also going to bring that up with Debbie Durham, who is the director of Iowa Economic Development Authority in Des Moines. And she's a Western Iowa girl. She's from Sioux City. So hopefully she understands and can be able to hear what we've got. So sure.
Yeah, so I mean, we want to be very, I know when we talked to Andy, he said he was going to come and visit with us, and that's what I took away, is we want to be very aware that we don't want any part of that. We want the local control, if you will.
Right.
And local promotion. But take away from all this, obviously need to do a better job of promoting the things that are in this area. I mean, that's been a little lax, and apparently it's been a little lax across most of the state.
It has been. Yes.
So it's not just us.
Right. Everybody wants to develop so everybody wants to get into economic development. That's kind of the big buzzword, right? We want economic development. We want to make sure that we're, we're building up downtown and we're building up, but if you've got economic development as kind of the hook that gets people to, what's going to draw people in, right? What's the hook to economic development? That becomes the big question. Well, that's tourism, right? We bring them in and you keep them. I'll get them here, you keep them here. Right? I can get them to come in and spend the night in Humboldt, whether it's because of Doberstein's statue, or whether it's because of Frank Gotch's statue, or whether it's because there's a tournament that's being played here, or whether it's because we've got the Iowa State Wrestling Meet, or it's because we've got a great new dam system that allows people to kayak down the river, or, we've got bicycle trails, or all of these different things. I can get them here. How now it becomes, so it's got to be a partnership. It has to be a real partnership, and you can't just hang everything on economic development and say, oh, well, this will all just kind of work, so we'll throw $2 million at it when it's a much larger pool of money. I mean, we all love Humboldt County, that's why we're here, that's why we got it's why you were elected into the positions you're elected into. At some point, you decided that you love Humboldt enough that you want to serve as a supervisor. So, you kind of go down that road. But agritourism is also missing.
And just one, it does go along with it, that I will, that's been out there for years, trying, that has not been passed yet.
No, it's been passed.
It has been passed.
Not funded. Or partially funded. So it passed, but it's not funded, or partially.
And wasn't that a percentage of tax?
Yeah.
So it passed?
It passed.
Well, where's the money then?
Education. You run out of money and you can't fund things. So when 78%, and I'm fully in favor of education for Iowa. I'm a product of Iowa education. I graduated from Humboldt in 1990. I'm a complete, but when 78% of the budget goes to education, and then you've got to try and figure out what you're gonna do with the rest of it to cover everything else, I mean, at some point, you're gonna run out of kids. So you gotta draw people in, right? The birth rate isn't the same as it was in 1960 or 1972 when I was born. You know, people aren't having children the way they did before. So at some point, you gotta start drawing people into the state. Well, we're at and the $8 billion is completely green. There's no negative footprint to our $8 billion tax base. None. You look at it, you say, okay, well, what's the downside to bringing people into Iowa and having them spend money? Well, I mean, from an economic standpoint, what is there is no downside. There's literally no downside to drawing $8 billion into the state, and then, what is it, 300, or 567 million in taxes out of that $8 billion? Yet we get $2 million, and that's directly from tourism. I'm not talking about the economic development piece. That's just tourism. So, yeah, you kind of work from that. So, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic as we go. So.
Andy, do you wanna explain to people what a CVB is?
Yes, so a CVB is a Convention and Visitors Bureau. So it would be like Alyssa on steroids. So it would be when you see, like, we'll use Des Moines as an example because they're probably one of the closest things to use as an example. When you see the National Wrestling Tournament, or you see a big festival come into Des Moines, or in 1979 when you saw the Pope come, or when you see the various different things that happen around Des Moines, there's got to be somebody that coordinates that, and that's what your Convention and Visitors Bureau does. They're the ones who bring everything into Hy-Vee Hall. They're the ones who bring everything into Wells Fargo, or into what used to be Vets, right? I mean, community choice, those things. CVBs direct that. Destination Marketing Organization is another name for a CVB. They do the exact same thing. They just use a different name. So you have a Destination Marketing Organization. So Dubuque, I think Dubuque, is a Destination Marketing Organization. Des Moines is a Convention and Visitors Bureau. They do the exact same thing. So, you know, they just title themselves differently because one will have a CEO and the other one will have a director. It's just structure.
And, you're talking about the different regions, so is the Eastern Iowa one, are they in favor of this new,
They are.
formation they're talking
Yep,
about?
so Eastern Iowa, the counties in Eastern Iowa have already voted to dissolve what's called Eastern Iowa Tourism Association, EDA. They've already voted to dissolve and to go into ITIP. So the Iowa Travel Industry Partners. The other 71 counties have not. Yet they're telling, it's a telling thing that they've all voted and they think that they can carry because they have Dubuque and they have the Quad Cities and they've got Burlington and they've got Iowa City and they've got Cedar Rapids and they've got Waterloo, Cedar Falls. They think that they can carry. Plus they have Mason City, Fort Dodge, and Des Moines on board as well, but nothing else from the same region. So, because it's gonna benefit them to do it. In Western Iowa, the only one that is in favor of this, in the entire region, Council Bluffs. What's that tell you? So it becomes a concerted effort for the CVBs to act as one, to do what they need to do to get this new organization off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But none of the attractions are on board. Not one. So,
Well, does anybody have anything else for Andy, question-wise, or?
Well, you said you wanted to bring it to the, Board of Supervisors. What is it that you're expecting from us? I guess is, you know,
I guess,
you know
right,
what,
sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
So I think one is, I want to bring awareness, so that you're able to understand where we're at. I don't think there's a hard ask at this point. I guess unless the hard ask would be to say, if this continues to move forward, that you consider not supporting, or consider taking a very hard and critical look at what this new industry partner is going to do. Right? How are they gonna benefit the county? So, I guess the ask is to be extremely critical in your thought process as this becomes more public, if this even becomes a thing.
Right.
Okay,
I mean,
that's,
a lot hangs on tomorrow. When you have the president, so I'm going in tomorrow with the president of the Central Iowa Tourism Region, I'm going in with the director of the Central Iowa Tourism Region, I'm going in with the director of the Western Iowa Tourism Region, and we're sitting down with Debbie, the four of us. And we're gonna let her know essentially what I just told you, is that we've got grave concerns over what's gonna happen, because 90% of the state is rural, you know, if not more.
well, for you then, I'm sure you will, but would you please keep us posted one way, shape, or
Sure,
form?
absolutely, I'll get back on the agenda, you know what, like, I can get back on the agenda at some point next month, maybe towards the end of October, and kind of let you know where we're at and what's going on. I
And
can
if,
certainly have conversations with all of you.
if you haven't, and if you would, or if you have something more immediate, obviously you can forward it to Peggy for the auditor, or, you know, to all of us, if it's something that, you know, we need to know kind of right away, and then even prior to getting back to visit with us, so.
Sure, absolutely.
Anything else, for Andy? I think that was well put. Thank you for the information and update on tourism, which is a good thing to bring to the forefront.
We appreciate it.
Yep, thank you very much,
Thank you
Andy.
Thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, and good luck with tomorrow. All right, we have, approval of the resolution 2020-21, which is approving the bond purchase agreement for the sale of bonds thereunder and authorizing the call of bonds. Peggy's gonna get Mike on the line.
But, I hope I didn't cut off Rick. Shoot! I shouldn't have cut off Rick, 'cause I wasn't... No, he can still call here.
Okay.
It's just that... I shouldn't have cut Rick off, because I was on the other line. Yeah.
Michael Maloney.
Good morning, Mike. This is Peggy at the Humboldt County Auditor's Office.
Hey, Peggy, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm here with the board.
Good, good. Morning, everybody.
Hello, Mike.
Are you gonna come? I was gonna say, yeah, call him, tell him to call.
Well, I won't take too much of your time today. Today's action is in regards to locking down the pricing for the bonds that we worked through last week. I'll be providing you a quick update on the results, then also authorizing the redemption of the outstanding debt. That redemption of debt is a more formal process if we were doing something with a more traditional bond issue, but as you recall, we're refinancing a few bank loans and the outstanding lease with Motorola. So, we've been in discussions with both of those parties. They're aware of what's happening, and we're going to be closing at the end of next month. So we'll work all that work out behind the scenes, but those are the two actions on your agenda for today. The two quick hits here from a standpoint of pricing. You know, when we talked about doing the refinancing initially, back in August, we were looking at about $78,000 of present value savings. The final results came in at about $84,000, so a little bit better than expected. You know, I try to tell you folks, you know, where things are when they're there, so it wasn't anything where, oh, you know, better than expected or anything like that. You guys are just taking advantage of good interest rates. Getting things in here at the end of September is good, as it looks like October could be a historically large month for issuance, so timing was nice.
Good.
Overall, on the interest rate, we use true interest cost, that's TIC, as kind of a shorthand similar to APR for our personal finances. That came in at 1.27%. So overall, very pleased with the results here, and, you know, happy to answer everything's included here, and, we should be good to proceed, working with your bond attorneys at Dorsey and Whitney to bring things home over the next several
We
weeks.
don't have a speaker for...
Okay.
I'll...
So, we are
Here, let me try something.
acting on basically what exactly? Say that again, Mike.
Yeah, you have two items today, and I think Dorsey put it into one resolution. One is the bond purchase agreement, that locks in the rates and terms for the financing.
Yep.
And the other
Rick, can you hear us?
authorizes the redemption of the outstanding debt. Basically says,
Rick?
you're formally telling the folks at the bank and Motorola that we're redeeming the old debt.
Okay, and just to reiterate, you said that all that has been worked through, basically on your end with the banks and with Motorola for that lease.
That's right, that's right.
Basically, this resolution, this is 2020-21, is just authorizing those two actions, or the...
That is correct, sir.
Okay, well...
Rick, can you hear us?
Stage for this, and then the paperwork that Dorsey will have for you in 2 weeks, that paperwork is just to authorize all the, federal tax exempt language, loan documentation, et cetera. Nothing changes after this morning. It's just, memorializing it in the legal documents in a couple weeks. That's it.
Okay. Go ahead,
I
Bruce.
got a question, Mike. A couple of the people that are interested in this, one of them was one of the,
Still there.
fire people. They asked if, when that money will be available, because they're all worried about ordering the stuff that they're gonna order in order to save money, so... Question, when would, if we did this today, the way it is...
All the funds will be delivered on October 29th. So on that date, we're gonna send money to multiple places. We'll send it directly to the bank to pay off the couple loans. We'll send it directly to Motorola to pay off the lease. And we'll send the balance directly to the county to be able to cover those costs. So October 29th, everybody will have money in their coffers.
Okay.
Just a second, Mike, hold on. Okay, I thought if I picked up Rick's and, I lost both of them.
I'm just gonna call Rick on my cell phone. We can put him on speakerphone. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So October 29th, Aaron Cran called this morning and said, well, if they order their equipment, it's like $130 per patient. So by the time they order all that stuff, it's like $3,000.
I'm sorry, Mike, we were trying to get Rick Peterson on the other line, and
On speakerphone on my
we ended
phone.
up cutting you off, so we're back again, sorry.
Thanks for your patience.
Okay.
No worries.
Can you hear?
All right. So, does anyone else have any questions for Mike through this whole process? So basically, we're just proving the bond interest rate and the approval of the debt, or payment redemption rather, for the banks and the Motorola lease with this resolution.
That's correct.
So, if there isn't any, we do need to have approval of that.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-21.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Motion carries. So, you probably heard all that, Mike. Is there anything else?
I did. Yes, I had two items. One, Peggy, I sent over our executed signature page on that. You'll need to enter the time. Please use 9:10 as the time on that. And then the last part for the board, I want to be very clear in thanking Peggy and making it clear to the board how much work she had to do on this. I know the time of year wasn't exactly ideal from her standpoint for this, but there's a lot behind the scenes, both myself and the folks at Dorsey, and Peggy made time to get all of that taken care of for us to keep us on track. So I really want to make a point to that to the board. Really appreciate Peggy's time and patience working through the process to help bring these dollars home and save some money for the county.
Yes, well put. Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
Public record, we try to make sure we thank her often, but this is one big deal right here. Like I said, timing was probably a little sketchy, but thank you very much for getting this done.
You're welcome, and thank you, Mike, for all your patience and help through all this.
Yes, thanks, Mike, on your end.
My pleasure. My pleasure, folks. You guys have a good rest of your week, and, we'll make sure Dorothy's got everything good and going through, and, you guys have a good rest of your fall. All right?
Will do. Thank you very much, Mike.
Good
Yep,
night.
goodbye. So you have the thing to sign then, for...
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of
Okay,
stuff.
all right.
For 9:10.
For 9:10.
9:10.
Yeah, 9:10. All right, so we have that done. Speaking of 9:10, and we're not as far off as I thought we'd be. We have Ben with a couple of, things to run through.
Good morning.
Hi, Ben.
Good morning.
The first item that I have on the agenda is to approve pay voucher number 1 for project LC 183001 to Peterson Contractors, Inc. for $59,871.07. This is the box culvert that they just finished south of Gosh Park Bridge.
That's the one you posted a picture of,
Yes.
right?
Yep. I drove it heading northbound this morning, it rode pretty smooth.
So we are still on with leaving that till spring then, or what do you, that's your
That's
thought?
the intention is, between the new co-op truck traffic and all of the culverts that are coming out of Portera, the traffic will basically be down a little bit further, so that we don't end up with a dip from the patch afterwards.
Right. Okay, I make a motion to pay voucher number 1 for LC 183001 to Peterson Contractor for $59,871.07.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, approved.
And then I did get an email this morning that they are planning on moving the crane in on Wednesday over on States Avenue, just south of Highway 3. Talking to their foreman this weekend, I ran into him at my kid's soccer game, 'cause his daughter was on the other team, but, they plan on having their crew here probably Thursday. So the crane will get here a day before they will, but we'll close the road on Wednesday when they get the crane in. Because that'll set the counterweights up and put the booms on and everything else, so they'll be set up on the road. But my guess is that will only take them 5 days to do. So by the end of the following week, we'll get it again.
So hopefully if any farmers are in that,
Hopefully, we're only inconveniencing them for a week.
we hopefully aren't gonna be, they were talking a little rain today, but our chances of rain seem to be nil.
Yeah, I think they're saying we're gonna get
I guess we get them when we get them. Yep. So hopefully they'll be in and out, get it done.
for another box. Yeah, it's a narrow bridge right now, is what it is. Second item that I've got on here is discussion of AVL quotes. I included a copy of the 4 companies that we've looked at. For the most part, all of their operating systems are very similar. They've either got the plug-in chip that goes into the pickup trucks, or you hardwire them in. The platform that they all operate on looks similar to Google Earth, where you can see in live time where all the pieces of equipment are at, and then you can follow the breadcrumbs showing where they've been. All of their retention lasts anywhere from 3 months to 3 years as far as how far back you can go. Contract lengths all vary. Samsara and US Cellular are both wanting 3-year contracts. Verizon's 1 year, and One Step doesn't require a contract. Pricing is all over the map with everybody as well. One Step is obviously the cheapest version. Blacktop service runs on One Step. I talked to Alyssa about her software, and she said that they've gone through multiple companies, and they found these guys to be easy to use and reliable signal. there's no cost of hardware, which was the big shocker when you started looking at US Cellular. They wanted almost $21,000 for their hardware. If we have intentions of switching to dash cameras, we would need to be looking at Verizon or Samsara.
So, essentially, minus any cameras, it's just a tracking
Yes.
with your little, I understand your little dots and...
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, I mean, it's a way to, check in the wintertime, make sure that we've hit all of our routes.
Yep.
If guys break down, it's a way to figure out who's got a machine close by.
Where they are.
Where they are.
So it's essentially a tracking.
Yeah.
So Blacktop Service is utilizing it for that, for their equipment as well.
Right.
And the one step has been good.
It's been good for Black.
Because it's considerably less money.
Yes. No, they're by far the cheapest of all of them right now. You know, you can look around east of us, Wright County, Butler County, Dubuque County, and the Iowa DOT all use US Cellular. They've got more bells and whistles, they've got sensors that are able to tell you when a blade's up, blade's down, sanders on, sanders off. They'll give you as many sensors as you want for as much information as you want. Boone County uses Verizon. You know, I mean, you can look anywhere, everybody's trying something.
Ben, so, if you look at the tracking part, the no camera, the tracking part, when it says $553.50 a month, that it?
Yes.
That's for all that, applicable equipment that it's on?
Right. That's for GPS equipment for all of the pickups, the dump trucks, the motor graders, and a few of the other pieces of equipment.
So that's really not a terrible...
No, one step, they require first and last month payment at the beginning, and then obviously when you cancel your contract and send in your equipment, they return that last month payment. That's basically their security deposit.
Yep. Well, I mean, we've had discussion for the better part of the last couple of years on tracking.
Mhm.
We have nothing in place at this point in time.
Correct.
This is just my humble opinion. That would be a really good place to start. If you're...
I mean, that's my opinion, is that if we're going to ease our way into it, one step is obviously the least risk for the county.
And you get a good reference from a local company
Right.
that's utilizing it, and they haven't said, oh, it doesn't work,
Right.
and they have issues, it's been pretty good.
Yep.
It's, well, like I said, we've had a lot of discussion about it, and we'll provide, there is history, like you said, that's 3 months to whatever, 3 years.
This one's got 3-year history, you
Oh,
can
well,
look back.
so you can look back, and if you didn't wanna know today, but yet, okay, a week from today, what happened today, you could look back a week and see where it was, correct? Thinking properly, if that would happen. I think it'd be more normally, probably the question to be asked sooner than later, where something was, but...
Right.
Anyway, like I said, my humble opinion is it's a really good place to start, we've talked about it, and it does allow the GPS tracking of the equipment for a fairly reasonable cost.
Yeah, it's like, $13.50
Yep.
a month.
Yep.
So, but that doesn't, they don't have cameras, correct?
They do not have the option for cameras right now.
Okay.
No.
So
When you start
if-
getting into cameras, you start getting more expense because you have to have a wireless hotspot in the cab of each piece of equipment to be able to stream that data back to a private server. If you want the county to perform similar to the Iowa DOT, where people can click on a plow and see relatively real-time data of what the road conditions are, then you would need to be looking at something like a US Cellular or Verizon.
Rick, are you hearing any of this?
Yeah, I'm sitting here listening to it. I know, like Bruce has told me that new co-op, they have a system, I don't know what system they use.
They use Samsara.
What do they use, Ben?
Samsara, or Samsara, I'm not sure how you pronounce it exactly.
Okay. So that monitors, their employees carrying key fobs, so they know who's where and when, and
Well, they also have the cameras too.
in the cameras.
Yeah.
And all of these do have that feature that you can get the key fob for the driver ID, so you know which person is operating which piece of equipment. It's an additional, for one step, it's an additional $30 per unit, one-time fee.
It's a one-time fee of $50 a
Similar to
unit.
our fob for the
Getting
door.
down in the door. So we were talking about cameras for liability, correct? As far as like plows or,
I just threw it out there that I didn't know I didn't remember what happened out on the Rutland corner, if a camera would've helped us.
With that one, because we were hit in the right rear tire, the camera would have shown that we stopped at a stop sign and then crossed the roadway and basically,
we would've,
you know, we didn't see another vehicle. I don't think the camera would have picked up that other vehicle.
Well, I agree with Eric,
I think we need to, I think it's, because I go back to the very original discussion, and it was, and Bruce brought it up, the knowing where the equipment is at any given time. And we have zero, nothing.
right.
This is a cost-effective way to get a start on it, and that would be, and I appreciate Ben checking, references, that it does, the system does work, and I think that's a great place to start. Obviously, additional things, but you start getting into, as his information shows, the more you add, the more it costs. And let's, I think we're in a great spot to be spending a bunch of money to have the, Cadillac program. If you spend enough money, you could probably have the machines drive themselves, but we're not quite there yet. So, I think this would just be a great place to start with the GPS tracking.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good place to start.
Eric,
Correct.
I agree with you there. I think we need to start somewhere.
Mhm.
With our budget looking the way they are in the near future, I think we need to keep our costs down.
Yep.
I do believe it's a good place to get started on this, and, we can always upgrade in the future if we think it's an
Oh, sure.
it's an asset.
Yep.
And you said One Step doesn't have a contract or anything,
Most
so you
of it
just,
has no contract.
you have the
You
first
just pay
and last.
first and last month.
Yeah,
So realistically,
Yeah.
the starting point, and you certainly run it for, well, who knows, but a year or so, and
Right.
you get a feel for it, and what it's doing, and how it's working, and
And if there's additional features that we want later, then...
Right.
certainly,
We're
yeah.
not...
Yeah, it's a good point.
You can always up.
You can always switch providers the same way you
Yeah,
do.
well, Sandy brings up a good point, you're not locked into a 3-year contract
Right.
with these folks, so. But this was just discussion, so there's no action, but I think you kind of get the gist of the discussion.
I'll make it, as an actionable, item next week.
Is that fair to everyone?
Works for me.
Sounds good.
All right, then,
Sounds good.
speaking of spending money, the discussion on future equipment purchases.
Right, so, we've talked about it a few times as far as our, road use tax money and everything being down roughly 8%, which is considerably better than the initial shock of 25% that the DOT was quoting us. I would like permission to seek quotes for the pickup truck that I had for Bode, scheduled in this year's fiscal year, and the UTV that I had scheduled for last year in the fiscal year. And then obviously I will wait until later in this fiscal year, in the March, April timeframe, when we have a better idea of how we're sitting on budget, before I start pursuing the larger ticket items, the, wheel loader for the Hardy location and the additional excavator. Right now, we've got the 2 excavators and we've got 3 shops that are constantly clamoring for the 2 pieces. There's always one shop that's left
Without one.
without one.
That would be, I hear similar, I hear from the shops, the excavator probably better be at the top of the list.
Would be at the top of the list for,
Yes.
for next spring. Yep.
Yep. So you're talking pickup?
I'm talking pickup right now, it sounds like, the gold pickup, which used to be Paul's, then it was mine, and then handed down to Bode, so it's got quite a few miles on it, is starting to show its wear.
I'm sure it is.
And with now being in September, the new trucks are available, the 2021 series.
Okay.
I
So you-
I would like permission to purchase one similar to the one that we did last year for the Humboldt location. The 4-door, 3/4 ton, and I can't really say Chevy because we'd be looking
Well,
at Chevy, Dodge, and...
Just like you always
look at-
have sent out. So this is for this older pickup that you're talking about is at the boat shop right now?
This is at the boat
So this
shop
is to
right now.
replace that
This is
older,
to replace the
before
older
it
pickup.
causes issues and problems.
Before we have major repairs.
Right. No, I think that sounds like a fair idea, and what's the UTV thought process?
The side-by-side,
Yep.
That would be the piece of equipment that we use to run ditches.
Right, I know what it is, but I'm just talking, is that something that you had
That's
put
one
on?
that I had budgeted
We
in
had it last
year's.
year, yeah.
Yep,
And then they started using,
we started using,
Emergency management.
emergency
Right.
managements, and,
Yep.
we had a pretty good working system for a while, and
Yep,
then, I guess we ran into issues around the 4th of July, trying to locate it, and no longer became convenient.
Would you use that, safe to say, county-wide? I mean,
That
just
would be
kind of
fine.
where needed, and you can incorporate, well, you can use it for all sorts of things.
Right.
Some seeding,
Brush cutting, weed spraying, seeding,
Yep.
dragging in,
yeah,
seeding.
just, yep. I mean, go ahead, Rick.
Ben, do you have a trailer to hold that thing on, or would you be driving it from location to location?
We do have trailers available, to be able to move it from location to location. If it's close enough, you know, if it's within 5-6 miles, you probably just drive it.
Yeah, okay.
Well, obviously,
Just wondered.
speaking of the financial part of it, the overview I'm getting is you're looking at 2 reasonable cost items versus when you start talking excavators
Yes.
and wheel loaders.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, between the two, I'm looking at, roughly 55, 60,000.
Right.
Versus, $200,000 excavator.
correct. So, how far down the road does this push the excavator? 'Cause I'm looking at that.
Probably the spring. We should have a better handle on how we're sitting with road use tax money in March. I mean, they pay it out every month right now, and so far, we're sitting even, but they're anticipating a
Right,
dip
right,
as the season goes on. I mean, obviously, sales tax numbers are probably going to be down, especially when you start looking at the restaurants and bar locations
Right.
that a lot of these communities are shutting down.
well, I guess, I'm just trying to get a timeframe, and that makes perfectly good sense to see where the revenue stream is, you know, into, like you said, March, give or take, of next year.
And then that should give the suppliers enough time that we still take delivery of it in this current fiscal year, so it
Okay.
can carry over.
Okay, so it could be, if things will be cautiously optimistic, look good, you know, financial side of it and the revenue side is good, that, we could actually have it physically
For next
prior.
summer.
Yep, that's, okay, yep, that sounds pretty fair to me.
I'm good with that too.
Anybody else got anything on equipment for Ben? I think that was great explanation, thanks for your thought process.
Specifications done.
Yep.
All right.
Anything else?
The Rutland shed location, I talked with Conservation, Todd Lee went over there and took a look at it. They would be interested. Do we just sit and have a meeting with our board and their board and hash it out? Or do we have them bid on it just like any other, private individual that's interested?
Is there anything that precludes us from just doing what Ben said, having, you're talking having the conservation board?
Purchase.
Yeah, visit, just,
Well,
with the county?
County, so let's just sit down with them and see if we can work something out with it.
that seems reasonable, if they're interested.
I'll talk to Todd and find out when his next meeting is.
Hey, Ben,
Yes, sir.
maybe, you can look back and see what you paid for it back whenever they bought it or put it up or whatever, so you have an idea what you had in it. And, look at it that way and gives you some idea. And I know land values in some parts of the county aren't real high as they would be if it's located in Humboldt, you know, so gotta take that into consideration.
Yeah, I looked at previous sales of buildings. Obviously, when an elevator is close by or surrounding it, our sales prices increase. Bode sold for roughly $50,000, Hardy was $25,000. Thor was a single stall that the city of Thor bought for $15,000, I think. I told Todd I would probably be in the 15 to 20 range.
Okay.
And
Well, I
he was
think-
interested at that price, so.
What?
I didn't believe it'd be a good property for the conservation to own.
Well, if they looked at it and they're interested, I think we need to help them make that happen.
Yep.
That probably won't make the people that are interested in purchasing.
No, but,
But I understand, I mean, I'm serious, that's, if we're gonna use it for them,
yes,
there's no sense in us having to build something or
Correct.
purchase something else when they have something.
Yep.
So,
We'd be spending a lot more money to build something.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Other county departments can use it, I say, let's
Yep.
work something out with them.
Yeah,
You
they
can
should
get-
get first choice.
Absolutely. You can get, obviously, back in touch with Todd and the Conservation Board.
I'll talk to Todd.
Okay. Well, good work on all this, Ben. Thanks for your due diligence on everything.
Yeah.
All right, well,
do you wanna do the claims quick?
you can, it's, well, in deference to the three gentlemen sitting there, but,
Well, I won't take them.
go ahead, claims?
General claims, I had 142,775.60, and the drainage was 46,559-62. I'd make a motion for that.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Claims carried. We will, get that taken care of. All right, now, we've got discussion on possible action for the tile connection discovery on Drainage District 35, Branch C. I have some interested parties here, and so, Jason, if you want to...
Yes, where's the hot seat? Where do you want me?
What? Do we need to go to drainage? Okay, well, let's go into drainage first.
Motion to go to drainage.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a couple minutes, so.
Okay.
You're good.
I heard a motion, I didn't
Dave?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in drainage.
This is just told many of us we should leave that door open so that the breeze
Well, there
will
were
check it.
some people talking when
Oh, okay.
that question.
Is there any, I know, but I wonder if there's anybody now.
I think it was these guys out there. No,
Guilty.
no, they
Yeah,
were
we're just
visiting,
giving you
so
a hard- yeah.
Peggy just,
I just didn't see anybody out there, so I thought, get some air circulation going.
Long time no see. You,
Eric is, or Rick is gone, you can sit in his chair.
You sure?
oh boy.
Well, he's on his phone, but,
Come
Rick,
on.
is it all right if Trish uses your chair?
Feel a little sneaky.
Thomas got this cough on it.
I think fall's arrived a week late, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nice day.
Everybody got everything they need, ready to go?
I think so.
Well, we are in drainage, so we can officially have the discussion on that. Where we're at with the, connection discovery on that branch C of 35. Jason? Yeah, go ahead.
I've given these to Harlan and Dial here this morning. Stick up here. I haven't been looking at any doorknobs, so,
Well, that's
I'm
good.
COVID-free.
Maybe windows.
Well, I do have a thought about that.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, I figured you'd wanna hear it from me. I'm the one that's been, I was on a road project, I apologize for a few months, back in town, didn't realize this drama was going on with this. Since there is drama, I'm here. With this talking it over with Rick, these are our plans of action, and as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to do all 5 right now. Here's the story. So we have been waiting for these as-bills for 8 months now. Nothing's been provided to us, not even a paper copy with marks on it showing where the tile connections were on our station. That is the industry standard minimum of what they should provide. But we had talked to Dial and Harlan before this started, and for years now, we've been trying to get GPS coordinates on these tile connections, so the guys can go out there with their handheld, go, it's right here. So, when Jordan was out there, and they got started, they tried to figure out how are we gonna do this. Well, what they came up with is they're gonna have an iPad that would take these pictures, and since it was hooked up to a phone line, it would record the latitude, longitude of where that picture was taken. Perfect. We all agreed that that was gonna be the deal. So that was not provided to us. I get involved, first thing they send was this, with these 5 or 6 tile connections, and this is after they realized Jordan was no longer with us. Jordan's working for Bolton Big now, the Evil Empire. He's very happy, he's doing sanitary plant work, which was his dream, which is what his dad did, and he's very happy and he's where he should be. But anyway, so I called Jordan. Jordan proceeds to tell me that, yes, this is exactly what they agreed upon, and tells me whose iPad this stuff is on. The first part is on Sean's iPad, then it was transferred to Slim through the second section, and then it was transferred on to Pete, and Pete's got the iPad. So you know me, I started calling their guys. I called Slim, I called Pete, and they said, yeah, that's exactly what we did, they're all on Pete's iPad. So I called Pete, and Pete didn't answer, so this was on a Wednesday or Thursday. Friday, I took Friday off. Friday morning, Dave King calls me, by accident. He had the wrong Jason. He was talking about building corners and some other structural stuff. I said, you got the wrong Jason. But while I got you on the line, we've got a serious problem here. And I said, I talked to your guys. I know what happened. I'll drive anywhere in the state to find Pete and get these off of his iPad, because with that, I could get the lat longs with it. And that's the whole thing, is to get the latitude, longitude, where that picture was taken. He says, let me call you back. I said, let's call me back, because we're not gearing up for the easy way. It's gonna one of two ways, and we're not gearing up for the easy way. So he calls me back and says, I think we found him. I said, okay. Couple days later, we got him. But in between there, the next effort to give us stuff was this. They sent us 5 more locations. Now, that's a valid location without a picture, and that's kind of a valid location without a picture. And these 3, which are all the same thing. They're all the same coordinate. And what are we supposed to do with that? This is their level of effort. But like I said, we did get the pictures from King Construction that they were supposed to be taking. They did have them. They are good pictures. And I had made arrangements with Highland Harlan. We were gonna meet at 10 o'clock at his place to go over this. And if you guys wanted, I've got 2 copies of them. I can leave a copy here. But nice slope down, where they slope the tiles down to get in there, rock well, concreted collars. But we don't know where they're at. We don't know what picture corresponds with what tile connection. So we went through, and these are Jordan's pictures, which he took while he was out on site. It's very easy. You can go in and get the latitude, longitude of that picture, and they match up with the plans. But since it was prearranged that these guys were gonna take the pictures on that iPad, that's what Jordan was doing, is making sure that those pictures got taken on that iPad. That was his job out there as inspector. And I understand that we had full-time inspection out there, and that there could have been double or triple checks taken on this. But we figured when we talked about it, the pre-con, then went over it again with Jordan, and they made their plans on how they were gonna do it. We found it completely acceptable. That, coupled with the fact that it's in bold print in the system of measurement, which they can't tell me contractor doesn't read the system of measurement, and listed on every single page of the plans. And I just want to read it. Contractor shall provide the engineer with a photograph of each tile connection before it is backfilled, an adequate description and the location of the photograph shall be included. The contractor should provide the engineer with the GPS location of each tile connection and the size and material of each tile connection. At the bare minimum, and you can call any contractor you want, call Wrightsville, call Mancy, call Scott Peterson, Rick Peter, anybody, and they will tell you that this is a minimum. They did not supply this to us. So we went through Jordan, so we called Jordan. Jordan, we would be talking to him right now, but he's working for Bolton Mink, and there are some, he can't talk on the record. This is being recorded, it would be kind of like testimony. But when we get back to Dial's house after this meeting, we are gonna call Jordan, because I wanted to hear it from Jordan, how they came up with this, and when you hear it from Jordan, boy, it was very, very confusing. But yeah, so we went through with the little bits of information they gave us, and through Jordan's tile, the notes that Jordan took, we come up with the first set of as-bills, which I'll tell you, was not surprised that was not gonna be adequate. Now, with this this information that we had, there were some of the pictures that we could say, okay, that's a 24-inch tile connection, where we have a 24-inch tile, okay, it was this connection right here. And put those in a newer set of as-bills that we're gonna go over with Harlan and Dial here afterwards, to see what else is left. Now, through this, they sullied us, so, yeah, we come up with kind of a plan of action. I wrote this instead of Rick, obviously, because it's kind of short and sweet. But they are still, it hasn't been a year since their completion date. They are on the hook for this. It's written in multiple different places. We had a plan of attack, but between us, I was sitting there as I'm talking to them, and our iPad was full of drone video. So I'm deleting drone video from 2016 to 2017, going, oh, this is what happened.
this is what happened. Guessing, I don't know, but, so what I wanted to go over with the landowners and with you guys, we can continue to push, sorry, I wear my glasses. King Construction, but if they had anything left, after our last two conversations, I would be shocked if they didn't give it up. And why wouldn't they? If they had it, why wouldn't they? We kind of throwing around the idea, Dial and I did the tile locations to begin with, in the very beginning. We actually worked out as a heck of a team. So if he would be willing to go out and redo where they wanted it dug up, we were, by the way, Jacobs and Westgard, we are gonna fix this. And then we are gonna go after King Construction. But we are gonna handle this. Now, if that means, we pay Dial, we go out and dig, I probe and shoot them with the GPS, no problem. Not a problem. That's what we'll do. 'Cause I don't think they got us. And we need something. Because I told Dave King that when it boils down to it, you're gonna dig up one side and down the other. So, you wanna fix it? That's how we're gonna fix it at this point. So, but through that, they actually made a phone call and had the pictures. Now, Dial was saying he might have a program, I could not find anything that I could get properties of these pictures since they've been transferred. If I had an iPad, you could get them very easily. You know, you just right-click properties, go down to the bottom, it's got a ton of information per picture. But since they were transferred, then transferred again, now I got pictures with no outlines.
Can't they do that?
What's that?
Can't Kings do that?
Pete transferred them onto his wife's computer. And then they were transferred again to an email, and then emailed to us. So I could continue to push King Construction to force them to say, hey, we deleted them. Before we deleted them, we transferred them to Pete's computer, not realizing that when we did that, the lat longs went with it. Or, I know a couple of technology guys, and they couldn't, they said, what you got is what you got. We've got dates, but here again, here was the notes that were sent with them. And what they had available is what they were what they charged the drainage district. They needed so many feet of 6 inch, so many feet of 4 inch to make the connections or whatever. That's the only information they had, not what was required by the industry standard, not what was required by us, not what was talked about multiple times. But, yeah, their bonding company could absolutely be contacted for a resolution and see what they have to say. That's getting on the pretty serious side when you start calling contractors bonding companies, or we could litigate it. This is a winner for us and we're willing to sue over it.
Well,
I know that we had full-time inspection out there, Bruce, and I could argue this both ways.
I understand.
I could say that, Jordan should have been out there taking pictures. Jordan should have had a GPS. Now, the GPS thing, you wouldn't want, that's $50 an hour, you'd almost double your inspection costs. And they had it figured out. They were gonna take them on the iPad, it was gonna locate the coordinates, we were gonna have a picture, 2 coordinates. So,
Well, this is my theory, and I'm just looking forward to the next time we do something, but I seriously believe as long as this project goes, that if we would've gotten some of this information as it's going on, 'cause this, 2 years?
yeah.
It's,
Well, and there was a lapse in there, guys planted some seed corn, so there's tons of pictures, if you guys haven't seen the, I make copies, I'll leave them for you, of what they went through to get there, and I'm not here defending King Construction, but they did go through,
hell, it was one word, it was like going through hell.
It was, okay.
It started and it was a mess.
I agree, it was a mess, but they had planted seed corn, so everybody agreed that we were gonna stop until that seed corn was out, because we know what seed corn costs, and then let it go again. So it did, it was over 2 years, and yeah, I agree, that if we would've had them giving this stuff up, we just have not had this problem before, especially with technology.
Those guys are the ones sitting over there basically holding the bag.
Mhm.
They got money invested, they got tile, they don't know where,
I agree.
I'm
I completely agree, and that's why...
trying to figure out how we don't ever have this flipping thing happen again. Ever.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's like,
Not my best.
this is like having a tooth that you just have to keep going back to, that just keeps bothering you. This is the bad tooth.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So, I visited with Dial the other day, and, nope, haven't got anything. Well, we gotta get something done. So, before the snow flies, I'm hoping that we're gonna, and they're farming, so.
I know, there's phones coming out, and everything's coming out. But I was just talking, Dial and I was, we're gonna meet together at 10 o'clock and go through this stuff and find out what they wanna do. If they want, guys wanna litigate, I'm all for it, 'cause they...
I just want it done. I just want it done.
And
I
we are
want better
willing to do-
as-built done, and they can look at it, and if you're gonna be if you aren't gonna have time to dig, Dial, that's why I wanted to make sure that we have to go find a contractor that's gonna go out there, because this time of year, you aren't just gonna call a tile guy and say, hey, you wanna come out and dig? Because they got stuff lined up till snow flies, right?
Yeah.
And we also wanna be careful, law-wise. King Construction might be owed first right of rescission. So, do we wanna call them and give them the opportunity, in a short period of time opportunity, to come up and do this?
Yeah, let it cross out.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you do have to give them that
So you give them 2
opportunity
weeks from today.
to fix their mistakes.
Yeah.
Because we've been down this road before in litigation, and Rick was part of that, and we just wanna make sure that all our ducks in a row. But I absolutely will be out there any time we get this lined up and make sure that happens.
Can I make a
Now my
phone call
baby.
as soon as you walk out, or you
Yeah.
call them?
Yep.
Can we have that in writing?
Get it done.
Oh, the letter. We need a letter or something to go to King.
Okay, then, when I get back, I'm gonna have Rick help me write it, he's a little more, I don't know.
Well, we just want to make everybody's
Go ahead, Rick, write it, but...
Yeah, I'd rather have it in writing, so we
Yes.
have documentation if it does proceed to...
You know, and that's what we're
Yeah,
here
have ducks in
for.
a row, you have to have
Does
documentation.
the board, agree
We would need your
to
support.
offer them the opportunity to come back and fix? And it's them, I'm talking King.
King.
They come back and have the ability to come back and fix it.
Yeah.
So is it reasonable to expect them to have it fixed by the 23rd of October?
23rd of October, and I think that's very generous. We were thinking 2 weeks tops. I was even gonna,
16th?
I was gonna throw a week in there, 'cause
Well, I think you're gonna have to give them a little bit of time in order to,
Give them till the 23rd, if they ain't done by the 23rd, then we're going in.
well, you'll
I
know what
email
they're
it
gonna,
and send it.
what their
Oh, yeah,
decision
yeah.
is. We
Well,
don't have
certified.
anybody to come.
First you have, I was gonna say, first you have to have a deadline on them getting back to you whether or not they're going to do it. And then you have to give them a deadline
I
on
like
when
that
you want
too.
it done. Otherwise, they can fiddle,
5 days
I mean,
to
Yeah,
respond.
I would say
mess,
5
they
days.
can mess around
5
until
days.
whatever, you
get back
know.
to me,
Yes,
and we want it done
By-
by the 23rd.
yes,
I will be out there with the GPS
yeah.
to probe it and...
Whatever you send to King,
Oh, yeah.
I'll put her on there, so
Yeah,
that we
absolutely.
have copies for,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, I wish, we called Trish and Dial after we had talked to Jordan, because I just thought, now it's clear, now I see, said the blind man. But, we're gonna call it when we get back to Dial's shop, so they can hear. He can't talk on the record, but he can talk for himself, and then, this has happened to both of them before, so they were willing to help us out, you know, without giving testimony, of course.
In my opinion is they should have a time to respond and a time to be on site.
Yep.
If you waited now 5 days to respond,
I'd say
and
5 days to respond, and they should be here within 2 weeks.
I like to,
I
yeah.
agree.
And it is the 28th
You
today.
have to be done by the 23rd.
Well, I want them to show they're gonna be here, and then a completion date as well.
right.
So,
Respond back by the 5th and have it completed by the 23rd. That gives us 2 weeks.
And you want on-site date too?
Well,
Yeah.
if you got a completion date, that's fine.
Okay.
Completion date of the 23rd, and that is a Friday? Yes.
That'd be Friday,
October
so
23rd.
we have it before the meeting on the 26th.
Yes. Yep, and that, now for, if they push back as long as humanly possible, which I pretty much guarantee, but we'll have the information, it'll take me a couple of days to get the points put in, you know, draw some lines, make it look pretty, and go over with the guys again, make sure that everybody's happy.
Come again, what?
But if we got it done on the 23rd, on
Oh,
Friday,
okay.
I need a couple days, but we'd definitely be able to report that it's done, we have it sitting in our possession.
Do you
This is
have,
my top of mind awareness.
do you have a preliminary conversation with like Scott Peterson and say, look, there might be a chance that we have to call you in for an emergency 26th if these guys fail to show up?
Scott, we've called Scott a couple times here this year, and he's pulling his hair out. But we can absolutely line up backup.
That's what,
Well, that's why I wanted to style, are you interested in doing it, or would you rather have somebody else dig it?
I don't mind,
And I'm not trying to...
No, yeah.
I hate to commit. You know, it just depends on the weather as to what I'm doing and stuff, and so I don't wanna commit to it. More likely I'll try and be there or plan on it, but,
Yeah, I would like one of you guys there where this is going on, so we're all on the same page. And I apologize, Dial, I had you on here before I had a chance to talk to you, and that's what I was just attempt, I didn't know if you were available, but we knocked out the tile locates in the beginning pretty rapidly. Because you kinda knew where they were at, I know what it looks like, and, yeah, we were...
there's some of those locations I may not be able to dig deep enough, because this was...
Sure, sure. But,
So by using that, you're gonna have to have someone with a bigger piece of equipment to reach that deep.
Possibly some, there's a, like the crossovers, the easiest way to do would be go down the old county tile line, just pull out a tile there and run a tile finder down, and then I can trace it that way.
and we've got a Maverick, I mean, but you got a Maverick too, yeah.
So, that'd be the easiest way to file, or find the crossovers for sure. But some of them other ones, I don't know.
The crossovers, I'm hoping that we've got Jordan picks of, which we've got coordinates of, which is lined up perfectly with our existing as-bills. And we can just follow, and that's, we're gonna knock a lot of that out here later.
Okay.
Is that okay? Because this is a crossover. You know, big old pipe going into a pipe, that's crossover. And we've got coordinates of it. And we've got notes on it, and that should be correct.
Rick, you got anything else on that, or you got any ideas?
Well, excuse me, I'm just gonna remind Jason that, it was on the contract also, it wasn't just King's responsibility, it was their responsibility to make sure King gave it to them. So, listen to his conversation, he's throwing it all on King and
Yes, I
it's
am.
on Question Guard also, so.
Right?
Both companies dropped the ball.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, if Western Guard wants to work in Humboldt County ever again, they're gonna fix this and make it right.
That's what I'm here to do, and I just was trying to tell you the story of what we've gone through to try to get the industry standard requirements from this contractor, and have still not received the minimum, which is a set of plans with some marks on it of where these tile connections were. I don't even understand how that could have not been done. I don't get it. But,
Yeah.
But there also should have been I agree with Rick, there also should
oh,
have...
I'm not sitting here saying that we are completely,
Right, there should have been
Without blame.
follow-ups a lot sooner than this.
but when this comes down to number 5,
Yeah.
we're ready for number 5. And not litigating, guys, litigating against the construction.
That's good for you, but in all fairness, in conjunction with this conversation, what was, we had specified and asked for at the beginning of the project to have an on-site, full-time inspector. What was he inspecting?
What was he inspecting? I got hard pictures of it.
That's,
The good tile connections, the good wraps on the pipe, the ditch that needed to be cleaned out after they filled it up with rock. I mean, I got a hard picture of here, why he was out here and the good that he did.
yeah, so there was a lot of good, but there was some things that were missed as well.
Well, there was, yep.
I mean, you definitely stated and have proof that it's stated.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to have Jordan out there. If we would've ever guessed in a million years that they weren't gonna supply asphalt.
But
That's
wouldn't have just
C1
been-
stuff.
no.
C1 stuff.
like Bruce brings up, this wasn't something that was done in a week.
No.
There was time to look, wouldn't you be knowing that you need this information as the project is
We had
progressing?
been talking about it through the whole time.
Yeah, but-
Yeah, and Jordan's watching him take the pictures with the iPad. The plan was followed. In the time in between,
Well, that's my point as to how we never get to this point again. I
Yes.
think that we need to make sure that however that is, that data is uploaded or downloaded or thrown wherever the hell they gotta throw it, get it to the person that weekly it is given to Trish or to whoever it is, so that we aren't standing here scratching our heads
I agree.
saying, how did it go 2 years and we don't have we're looking at pictures that, where's the connection? Oh, it's in the field somewhere.
well, this is how laws changes. Somebody gets, something like this happens, and this is how we are gonna change now. And we'll be putting it in the spec book, the future projects, that they will be turned in every week or every month or every... But this is what happens, this is how rules are changed. If somebody gets sued, somebody gets got. So, and right now, it's laying on us, and we're...
Well, obviously, you're gonna get it resolved. Do you, Alan, Harlan, you, anything to add that hasn't been?
Nope, I think nothing I got to add.
Harlan?
No, like Bruce says, there's been a lot of learning done on this one for everybody,
Yep.
and this weekly updates. And I think you talked about, not having that closing meeting or whatever it is you call it. Until, things are, like say, done.
Correct.
Could that be put off until the warranty period is up, so that if there's any problems, you still have retained some money, so you got a little bit of hold on?
We could require that the as-bills be turned in before the completion hearing.
Yes, that was the
We
point.
can do that.
That was the point. You can't delay the closing to the end of the warranty period.
Closing hearing.
Closing, yes.
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 Yep.
Yes, we'll definitely have, this unfortunate situation would have just been brought to the forefront sooner prior to the closing hearing.
And we could have been saved, they might have still had them before they ran out of room in their iPad.
Well, that is, yes, there will be as-built plans before the project is closed
And that will be in the...
from now on.
In the contract, no, in the contract book, that will be in there, that, yeah, we're not gonna close it out, you're not getting retainage till we get the as-bills that are complete and agreeable to everyone, you know?
Well, that's why on your plans, it has the elevations from the beginning to the end, and I think that every time they reach a certain hub, all of that stuff back here should be already in someone's possession.
In some of the...
Has to be,
in our
because we can't go from
Right.
here and all this stuff in between, we don't know where it went.
Yeah.
We had just, being, I mean, in 1900 whatever, when those original plans were done, those contractors had to supply what size material and whatever that the tiles had to cross. This is all it is. We never would have guessed that this was gonna be it's just so standard, it's so standard.
So Rick, do you think that we need to contact another, after Kings give us an answer in 5 days, we have to be ready to have person?
I've talked to, if Dial's not available, and I totally understand it, he's really good. But we could call, yeah, I could make some phone calls and have somebody lined up.
Well, I just think that you gotta have...
But I was thinking of maybe Rick
You gotta give
Peterson
them
and
5
Travis.
days.
but I know that Travis is,
They're all busy.
working on getting some other stuff done.
They're all busy.
They're getting, the piping's been ordered for DD10, but right now, they're gonna wait a week until the crops are out before they go out there and destroy crops to put in pipe. So we of course thought that was a great idea. So, plus you move it out there.
Well, let's just get the letter to them and...
Yep,
and
see what they
get their
say,
responses.
they get the first shot at it, and then have a contingency plan after that.
When will you have that letter then?
Today.
Okay.
And I put the date that, they reply by a certain time, and
It was October,
yeah,
5
sent
days.
to them, registered mail, so they have to sign for it to get it.
Oh, yeah, let's reset, sent certified, because we're done.
So if you sign it certified, it'll be there, what, tomorrow?
Should be.
So,
I do these certified next day?
so they gotta have a response by the 5th. That gives them 5 business days.
See what is, it's the
Today's
28th.
28th.
So fifth will be next Monday.
And then they got 3 weeks to complete it.
November 5th. And
Well, if you send an email too, I mean, you can send it certified and email. You know they're gonna get the email that day, but the certified, I don't, sometimes you can get certified gone, I mean, that day, and it'll be arrived the next day, but
Well, that's what you...
if you do guarantee it's gonna, you can do it that way too.
Do we wanna have them? What are the parameters? We gotta, Dial and Harlan know kind of where their stuff is, and we're gonna dig that stuff up and then find it, verify it, locate it? Or are we gonna go all in and make them dig up one side and down the other, that thing? Which I'm willing to do. But through the first section there wasn't a whole lot of tile connections through there. Whether they got them all, I'm not gonna sit here and testify that they got them. But we're gonna go through that later here with Dial and Harlan.
Whatever works.
Yeah,
Get it
I think it's
done.
whatever the landowners want.
Well, obviously, you wanna look at the most up-to-date, correct, as-built plans that you have, and hopefully make a determination, how many are you missing?
Because you guys got there's some significant ones that you guys want found, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't some 4-inch
No.
regular tile that we're looking for. You're looking for the other reason, I believe.
You wanna try to know what you're missing and find those.
I can give them pretty good coordinates of where to dig to find the connections and...
Well, and that's why me and Dial had talked to him before this project started. I know he's a technology-minded farmer, I'll say, and knew what he would want. I know what I would want. I feel they'll want to walk out there and see it. So that's what we're gonna provide, and that's why we put it on every page of the plan, in bold and spec book. But
Well-
I get the other side too.
You know the task at hand. Is there any other discussion from anybody?
No?
So you're gonna check with King first?
Yes, we're going to email King and give them first right of rescission. I think that is the smart play. I'm not an attorney, but I play one on TV.
And then go from
So
there.
then after the 23rd, if there's no response, no
If
action,
there's no response by the 5th, then we take other action. Then I secure another contractor to come out and do the digging, or give Dial second right of rescission. You gotta charge this time, Dial. And, oh yeah, my time here today and the last week I've spent fighting with these guys is on King Construction. It's not being billed to you. This is on...
Obviously, nothing's billed back to the district from this point.
Yeah, it's not going on this.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Now, the amount of time that it would take to do the as-bills as they were supposed to be given to us, yeah, I think that should go on the district. With all this extra stuff...
I don't.
No.
I don't think that,
As
I don't, I don't believe that, we'll litigate that.
Absolutely.
So, you can get it from King's, or the Jacobson Westergaard can eat it, but there is no more
We will
expense
get
to
it from
it.
King, but we will...
There's no more expense to the
We work
district.
at your leisure, so we do need your support. But if it does come to litigation...
Well, knock yourself out, but you know what needs to get accomplished, get it taken care of. Enough said, no one else has anything else on this matter? Do we have anything else? Yep, good point, Dave. Do we have anything else drainage related, means we're in drainage?
I'm gonna have you sign another one,
All right.
just so I have it.
So this is
One of my
for,
own.
okay.
That's that
Yeah.
spelling one. I don't know if I told you before, I think I told Rick in the IDDA meeting. that, I had talked, to Gary Jensen before on 13A, and he was under the understanding, and so was Travis Getkin with the city, that the tile was the county's, because it was 13 and not 13A. Well, I went back in the records and the minutes and looked, and, everything from 13, 41, and 80 in that area was formed into a new district, 13A. That was later given to the city to take care of.
So this is the one that goes across the fairgrounds?
Fairgrounds, yep. So it is the city. There is no separation between county and city, it's all city.
It's all over
Okay.
there.
Yep.
Okay.
So then we gotta figure out how to present it to the city and make sure that they get it paid for.
Okay. Good.
I think that's it. Worked on FEMA last week on submitting an extension again for 2018 and 19. I'm still waiting for a couple contractors to complete some projects. Seems to be going okay. And then, did you got an email from Peggy on
The team, which one?
this one? From the FEMA?
Yes, flood control or
Flood control.
flood minute, yes,
We got that.
yes.
Okay, are any of you attending this?
That's in October?
That's a Zoom meeting
October 6th.
a week from tomorrow, and
Are you?
don't be smiling under that mask. I'll call you up
Are you
and...
really smiling under that mask? Is my question.
That is FEMA,
Really?
or DNR's firm maps, is that what we're talking
Yes,
about?
and
Yeah,
It's a push to force, flood insurance on property owners that are affected by those maps. So anybody that has property close to the river that maybe didn't have to get flood insurance before, would now have to if you adopt these maps.
And they're not accurate either,
They're
right?
not-
Because the
they're
grant
not
money ran
accurate.
out.
I think, Rick, you were with me at that meeting, weren't you, back in, like, 14?
Yeah, I believe so. And, basically, that's what it was, the flood maps just got huge.
Yeah.
They were taking in anything that would, you know, it would have to be like a Noah Ark flood to get flooded, and they would call that the floodplain.
They didn't know how to accurately portray drainage districts, so,
No, they had,
they showed a lot of flooded farm ground beyond drainage districts. They used LiDAR, which back in the day had like a 3-foot accuracy. Yeah, I mean, there was a number of reasons that we didn't adopt them back in 14, and the reason that they're still not adopted by Humboldt County. We do lose out on, I think, 10% of our funding whenever there's a FEMA disaster.
Which is the state side,
Which
is that
is
what
the
it is?
state side, by not having adopted flood maps, when there's a FEMA disaster like there was, last year, I think the county got like $93,000 out of the $100,000 in damages. We lose out on the 10% state, but we figure the number of people that we're saving
Flood insurance.
flood insurance from is justifiable.
Yeah.
Well, and if it's inaccurate to start with, because they ran out of grant money to complete it.
I mean, that's what they told us back in 14, was that they ran out of money to do an in-depth study out in the country.
I mean, there's literal lines, like, where it ended, a line. It's not correct.
Well, in the original map back then, they had all of Dakota City in there. Courthouse, high places, all of Humboldt will have to run out of the water for it to flood up here.
Half the town of Humboldt is listed on the new map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
somebody looking in Washington at it all.
Yeah, see where, it just cuts off, I mean, there's places where
That's right.
they just plain old don't continue, I mean,
Every town on the river, we do have the...
there's no straight, I don't know, I just...
We could get letter of map amendments to get taken out of that, but it's $1,500 to us to get a letter of map amendment to send off to get exempt from that. And there was one time we're standing on his deck, looking down a hill at, if that floods, Esterville's gonna be underwater. And it didn't matter. They still had to have a letter of map amendment to get out of it.
So how do you keep from having to adopt these?
Don't adopt them.
We just haven't adopted them.
You think that,
So do you
the
have
long and
to-
short of it, is still...
They've asked us to adopt them, and we've refused. If you do the research and look up, the company that they're representing, they're like $25 billion in debt. A majority of it was obviously from like Hurricane Katrina, and everything that they had to pay out for New Orleans, but I mean, they're hemorrhaging money, so where do you go to recoup most of your money? Central Iowa, or
in the middle.
yeah, you go into the Midwest,
Outlying
when the chance
areas.
of FEMA damage is reduced, other than the last 2 years. I mean, we're once every 10 to 12 years FEMA event.
So is it imperative that someone has to attend this meeting, or do you just avoid it? Or how do you handle it?
I'll attend it, I mean,
You have the same information?
I don't know if you sent me the last conversation that I had.
Well, this is just about, what we just talked about, the insurance, and it's a Zoom meeting a week from tomorrow that's running through their programs. So, someone should. I thought about it, I guess I could visit with you between now and next Tuesday. And even if I visit with you a week from today, 'cause it's a week from tomorrow, so, how about that?
That works.
Somebody should, someone should, but, just so we're not missing anything, but I think
I know Travis wants it for the city.
Even though it would increase?
It would affect some of his property owners, but I'm not sure why he wants it.
The city passed some resolution, but then it gave the property owners out that, hey, you have to file for this letter of map amendment if you don't want to be part of what we're gonna eventually approve of this, because it recalibrated it or something. I think
Mhm.
Dave and Eric, you guys went to a meeting.
Yeah, Bruce, we went to that, several years ago, when they were revising these maps.
Yeah. They're gonna put a study on it,
Yeah, and I think maybe Ben summed it up better, that they've got a huge area that they're really trying to force people to, get insurance and out of the FEMA, so they would have to spend money.
Adopt the city map and not adopt county water.
There you go. I think that's the kind of the gist of it,
So each landowner would have to pay this $1,500 exclusion thing to get their place excluded?
Well, it's flood insurance, which is very expensive.
Right. Wow.
The
But
guy,
the flood insurance only covers what you owe on your house.
Oh,
That's to cover the bank.
we were seeing $700 to $1,400. As a matter of fact, it happened to the assistant county engineer in Denver County. He lives up on a hill. And so
Well,
we went out.
just to be on the real safe side, let's make sure someone attends this Zoom meeting next Tuesday, so. I think that's fair. Anything else,
Thank you.
drainage wise? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Harlan. Thank you, Dial.
I'll see you in a second, Don.
I'm good.
Okay, you're good?
okay.
Yep.
Motion to go out of drainage.
Second.
I got one more thing.
Oh,
before
Rick?
we go out of drainage.
One
Yeah,
more thing.
just one. I'll make it brief.
You're all right.
Trish and I were at the IDDA meeting on Wednesday, and we talked about the WMAs, about, whether counties should join them or not join them. The deal was that we talked about, we thought we should join, so at least you can be involved and you know which direction you're heading. Currently, they have no levy authority, but the WMAs in Minnesota have acquired levying authority over the years. And then they are mandating, this and that, and, so I think, from a county's point, we are involved in that boom watering, that management area. And, or it's actually Prairie Creek, I think is what it's called now, that it dumps into the boom. And being involved in that, what it does, it gives a vote to each, drainage district that goes, you know, if we have 6 or 7 drainage districts that dump into the Prairie Creek area, which I think we only have 1 or maybe 2, they each get a vote versus like, public entities like cities have a vote they can join. And that's what the Raccoon Watershed Management Area has done down there in Des Moines. And the suburbs are all joining that dump into it. So they're trying to, you know, get people to enforce the direction of the watershed, which direction they're gonna go for their, nitrate reduction. So I think it's important that we stay involved in those.
I think so too.
The WMA stands for,
What is it?
WMA stands for what, Rick?
Watershed Management Area.
Okay, and there's a cost to be in that yearly subscription, so to speak?
Right now, we're just part of it, and they basically, the reason they asked to form it is so that they can get grant money from the government to do studies and, you know, offer farming practices like, buffer strips and things like that and cover crops and things like that, trying to reduce nitrates that go into these watersheds, and which all the farmers are concerned about water quality.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point. We definitely should be as actively involved and a member of that as possible.
Yeah.
You just cover that entry fee and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
No, good point, good point.
I agree.
That's all I got.
No.
Motion to go out.
Second, why I don't hear her do it?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We're out of drainage.
I just,
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, you've had to go down, I didn't want to.
Make sure we
Does
didn't.
anybody want on the short list of backups?
We're good.
For, the
I'm
vote
giving myself
I
a short
got, Scott
recess.
Peterson, Travis and Rick Peterson, Bold, I know they're busy. Marlowe's excavating to come do it, we called, they come running. But they got a big machine, but I don't know if you guys had anybody you wanted on.
Lupton Sons, maybe?
Lupton Sons?
I don't know, I think
Maybe
you're
the favor right
gonna
now.
have a hard time finding.
At this point, I think all we gotta do is have a list, and
Yep.
I'd just like to be notified the minute, whatever time frame on the 5th, if you put a 2 o'clock or whatever that time is, and at 2:10, they still haven't called, you start calling those people and say,
Yep.
we'll move it.
Oh,
'Cause,
I'm ready to
I
go
don't
to
know
5
what
minutes,
it
I'm
is.
telling you, this is
well,
black and eye, and
I
that's,
hope we're all ready to do that, 'cause I think we gotta figure out a way to get past this and get to a new way, so,
Yep.
all right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
It's gotta be weekly updated or something, you can't go through this.
No, I'm done. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Maybe we have another one.
Actually, one in Mississippi is kind of interesting reading. What's your plan today, Rick? You going out sightseeing, or?
I got some honeydews to do with my daughter down here, I gotta fix a few things.
Well, that's good. You gotta keep your daughter happy.
Yeah, she found out plumbers down here are terribly expensive, so I gotta...
The union.
So she's got dad doing the plumbing job.
That's right.
I know that feeling. About a month and a half ago, we went up to Chelsea's and we were the lawn service, 10-acre lawn. Oh.
Alrighty then. So, we good to go with everything? We'll just wrap it up here. Looks like we have approved hire of Mary Olson as part-time jailer effective September 30th, 2020, at the rate of $15.14 an hour.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I guess that must get us back to...
Should be full
One
employees.
part-time or one full-time, I can't remember.
Well, one went from one to the other.
Right.
I can't remember which it was,
That's why I
a
think
couple of
that
them.
this will get us back to...
This should get us right back up to full.
That's good. I'm sure Cory would've said something this
Yep.
morning.
I know Cory mentioned that the jail is busting at its seams, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They got full occupancy right
I
now.
think they're doing Fort Dodge a favor.
Yeah.
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 So, we had a first and second on that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, now we have discussion, possible action to terminate the lease with Denise Johnson on the animal shelter.
I think we ought to terminate it, we haven't put a dog in there for 6-8 months or better, year. And the other shelter is real close to being up and running. We're looking for a grand opening in middle of October sometime.
That would be operational within,
Yeah, we're operating.
two
We
weeks?
could put dogs in there now, pretty much,
Okay.
if we needed to.
So when do you wanna do the date?
I'd say the first,
Like terminate it at the end of September?
end of this week, yeah, end of September, the October 1st terminated. Or
Yeah.
September 30th.
I was gonna say, I haven't got a chance to look at the lease, but if that is possible, that's what I'd recommend also.
Yeah, I was
You
gonna
know, I don't
suggest
know,
we look at the
30
lease.
days, I never got a chance to look at the lease, so, but if
Yeah.
it's possible to terminate it immediately, that's what I'd do, the first,
Yep.
end of September.
Well, I'll make a motion to terminate it as soon as possible.
I'll second Dave's motion.
Okay, any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. All right, we are down to committee reports.
Well, the one I had at the IDDA meeting Wednesday, morning, and, we, talked about our annual meeting coming up in December, and the bylaws specify it has to be an in-person meeting. They are gonna scale it back to, I believe it's probably just gonna be coffee and a donut. They're not gonna have a meal like they have in the past. They're still planning on Starlight. But there will be no guest speakers or anything like that. It'll just be a short business meeting, and, 'cause that is required by the bylaws. And then that'll be it.
How are we supposed to get our fix of roasted chicken from Starlight?
Yeah, I know, that was kind of a sore spot with a lot of people, I think. They're trying to, follow the social distancing
Social
rules.
distancing, yeah.
And we do have a lot of, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of the supervisors are kinda in that upper age area.
Speak for yourself.
I know, but, that was a few of the comments from our meeting the other day, and, Starlight's gonna accommodate us for this year, and hopefully save our spot available for next year.
Good.
I always think that meeting is very informational, we get a lot of good information from a lot of different sources there. And you get to visit with a lot of supervisors about problems they have in their counties.
Right.
So hopefully it saves some headaches down the road. But that's the plan right now, is to just have a business meeting, short business meeting, probably last a half hour, 45 minutes, and, get that, what is required by our bylaws taken care of.
Okay, understandable.
Yeah, it's the only meeting I have.
All right.
So,
I had, Udno, that call-in meeting on on the 21st, Monday, after I left here. And then on Thursday, the 24th, I had a CFR Zoom meeting, that we visited about. Back and forth, we've been also dealing with the ministerial and some, on the food pantry, but we haven't got anything nailed down on that yet, so that's where I'm at.
Okay, Tuesday the 22nd, I had an ISAC, education, committee via Zoom. Again, we're trying to get, we've got 24 supervisors signed up for the certified, supervisors, so, and I'm one of them. So hopefully we'll be able to get, more people signed up, and we're gonna encourage our supervisors, to become certified. It's a 2-year program. All of the, trainings will be at the ISAC meeting, so it won't, be an extra, meeting that you'll have to go down to or anything. And it's a really good program. A lot of it's gonna be on leadership and things like that, and what expectations are of a county supervisor, so I think it'll be a good training for everybody. And then Wednesday was crazy day. I had a Zoom meeting with CSS, which is our our monthly, governance meeting. We also had a 1 p.m., meeting with, for CSS with DHS, Jan Heikes from DHS. And it was very informational on, the costs of all the different regions and what services are provided and that. And so that's why I got this information here. It was all out of, but it's just still trying to figure out what we're gonna do. Next month, Rolling Hills will decide whether they're gonna accept our application. And then after that, then we'll have to decide, if we're gonna do a resolution to, change from CSS to Rolling Hills. It's just the progression of what we're gonna be doing, and, again, there's one last ditch effort that hopefully Sarah Gordo will, after getting all the information of what DHS has given us over the last couple of weeks, hopefully they'll see it's not to their benefit to go to CSS. The big thing that they're looking at is, CICS, their levy is $24, but they're using up their Fund 10 money. So next year, the year after, their levies are gonna pop right back up to what everybody else's is, anywhere from $30 to $36, per. So they're looking at a short term, they're thinking they're gonna be able to save $300,000. Well, that's gonna be a short term. It's, in another year or two, they're gonna be popping right back up to what everybody else is gonna be at that, because we were at that 35. Our board did decide to go down to 30, but we're going to pop right back up again too, because the children, the governor, they got the legislature through to mandate for the kids, but there was no, they mandated it, but no funding again. So, we have no idea what those costs are. We're just starting to work on that. That has to be in place by July 2021, which is great. I still say it's cheaper to help the youth than to see what's gonna happen later on, because it's just been brushed under and not taken care of. It's gonna cost everybody more money when they're adults. It's easier to correct and help with the situation when they're younger. So, I don't know. Hopefully Sarah Gordo will see that CSS is a very good, place monetary-wise and service-wise. I mean, and I hate to always say it's just about monetary, but I mean, we gotta look at what it's gonna cost the counties also, for these services, but we still have to provide these services for the people that need it. So, yeah.
I think we lost,
No, that's, sorry.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
to answer your question,
Yeah.
Does Wright have to wait to find out what Saragota does before they make a decision, or what have they decided, you know?
Wright County has also made the decision to go with CICS. And they're kinda in that because they're the south, east of our quadrant, you know, for them. We're kinda right in the middle. We could go either way. We really could go either way. But right now, I'm looking at Rolling Hills just because of, logistics and being able to work with Pocahontas, because the CICS and Rolling Hills do things a little differently than what CSS. They kinda do things by, like with two counties, they'll have a service person in that county. Those, like, they'll share with two counties. So that's kinda, I mean, and from what I understand, CICS is looking at, they want, Saragordo, Hancock, Wright, and, Webster. Because if they had too many more, they're gonna be as big as what CSS was, and that was supposedly the whole reason for this new legislature, is because we were just too big.
Huge.
Yeah.
Way bigger than that.
Right.
If Rolling Hills would turn us down, that'd be the only way we could go.
No, then DHS could come in and say, Rolling Hills, you have to take Humboldt.
No.
Or they could pop us up to Northwest, Care Connections, which, I mean, it wouldn't be horrible, but I don't feel it'd be the best place. Like I said before, there's just a lot of, they're so new, they're just getting their service providers in place, so it's a lot of, I need to go like this, I'm talking with my hands all the time. But, you know, so, I don't know, it's just...
Do you, Sandy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think we should send a letter to the NCCIS, or whatever that is?
CICS?
CICS, or to see if we could be accepted there also, so then we'd have the option to look at both.
Well, we can still get the information from both. They've been pretty willing to work with, giving cross-information. A lot of this information that I've gotten from DHS, it has everybody, and I'm gonna forward that all to you guys. I think I forwarded the one to you, but I didn't forward this one, and I should have. This is a financial one. You know, we pretty much have it all in this information. I don't know, I suppose we could do that, I just don't know how. The problem with doing that is, if you're out there with both, then Rolling Hills is gonna think, oh, they're not really, committed to our region, because the regions want you to be committed also. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know which way would be the best. I could get with Jan Hikus from DHS and just kind of talk to her about that too, if that's even possible, you know, if we can do that.
You know, something we should do so that you have that option available down the road.
Well, we can always do it. Say next month, Rolling Hills does not accept us, we can always then put one in for CICS. We could always do that too. And we can still get this all done, because we have, according to our 2080 with CSS, we have to have our information into them by November 15th. But with this new legislature, we have actually till February 2021. Because DHS has come in and said that their rule supersedes our 2080. So, and that's where that local governance comes into place. So. Okay. And then, Rolling Hills, we had the Zoom meeting with Rolling Hills, in the afternoon on that 23rd also. The 24th, I had a webinar, with, for the day, with conservation, they got a new committee starting up, it's Molly Veronka and myself, Tate Saturn, Todd, of course, was there, Mimi, what's Mimi's last name? Thank you, Mimi Wagner, and, as far as, you know, how we wanna move forward, what do we wanna do, they've got a couple of different options, and I can get that all emailed out to you guys too, but it was a pretty interesting meeting, and, yeah, and then I also listened to, that day, the 24th, CICS also had their, governing meeting, and I also zoomed in on that one. And that was it. That was my full week. Hence why I didn't get anything else done.
I had a Midas meeting, but I got tied up, I couldn't make it, so it's the meeting I had.
Okay, on,
I gotta get out of here, I got a funeral.
oh, good luck with that, Dave.
I forgot, on the 25th, I went to, Webster City because, I met with Iowa Workforce, on Iowa Workforce. We're trying to get that done, so we met on that too. There was 3 of us that met, Deb Bailey and then Bob Thoden and I met on that. I forgot about that, sorry. I gotta put that on here so I have it.
Got it.
That is really it, I'm sorry.
You did have a busy week. I did, on Wednesday, the 23rd, in the afternoon, I had a conference call decategorization meeting. That was my one official meeting last week, it looks like. So, Peggy, what, any extracurricular fun stuff do you have?
Oh, let's see here. I was notified of some funding opportunities for what's called a LIFT program. It's for linking Iowa's freight transportation. So I'll lay that up there in case anybody's interested. I also put up there a letter from FEMA, talking about the floodplain, revised floodplain information. And that's on October 6th from 9:30 to 11. And that's all I got.
I think that's it.
Yeah, does anyone else have anything else?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion, all those in favor?